No, I haven't seen Arcane yet, but I did see this developer digest for the upcoming Project L, the League of Legends fighting game by Riot Games, and truth be told, I am very excited for Project L. Like many, I've also had that phase in my life where I'd pour hours of every day into League of Legends, and truthfully, I cannot explain why or how it came to be that way. One thing I can say is that I have always loved the art, characters, and world of League of Legends even in the time that I was playing it, just not the game itself. So any chance I get to dive back into the world of Runeterra without locking myself into Summoner's Rift for 40 minutes is a good time for me. But I'm not here to wax nostalgic about my Summoner years. I'm here to talk about my hopes with Project L and how I think it will tackle one of fighting games' biggest hurdles: getting players to pick up and stay with the game. Fighting games are notoriously difficult to teach and even harder to master. They maintain a reputation for being the most unwelcoming competitive genre in video games, period. Decades of fighting games have tried to tackle the problem of how to get people to play the game, and there are of course several things that help in the process. Appealing characters, animation, and visuals are a given, and having stable net play is also self-explanatory. But even games that excel at both still struggle to bring in new players without simply dividing their entire player base across a gigantic skill gap of helpless newbies and seasoned pros. It's more than simply getting a player to buy a fighting game, but a question of how to get them to stay with a fighting game. And for that, we need to rethink how fighting games approach the onboarding process. In the formative minutes of picking up a new video game, it is imperative that a game has an organic and engaging way to teach a new player how to play. This is called onboarding, and fighting games are awful at it. Part of the reason is that fighting games are just really, really complex, and trying to teach them makes them more complex than they actually are. You have to teach movement, buttons, inputs, and system mechanics all before you can even start teaching basic gameplay concepts like neutral and spacing. And even games that we regard as having good tutorials really don't have much more than an interactive glossary of terms. It's like trying to teach someone English by handing them a dictionary. And no matter how comprehensive, accessible, or even fun you can make a fighting game tutorial, there's problem number 2. Players just don't like being tutorialized. Lots of video games are designed so that you can just start playing and then they'll teach you as you go along and let you feel out the controls and learn basic concepts naturally by playing. But not fighting games. Most fighting game tutorials are so afraid of players misunderstanding concepts that they can't even trust you to figure out how to walk. It feels like doing homework, and no one likes doing homework in their video games, especially if they're new to it. At the same time, you also just can't let a new player loose into online play because they'll just get crushed. I know the old way of learning was to just figure it out, idiot, but a new player can't figure anything out if this is happening to them, and they're more likely to just quit because they feel like they have no control. One thing that was confirmed by the video was one-button special moves, and I know this is bound to make certain people rage immediately because accessibility and simplified controls are a topical landmine for fighting game players. Yes, I've seen Corey's video on it, and this remains a huge topic for debate. If this is part of Project L's goal to make the game easier to understand for newer players, then I am all for it. Removing complexity from inputs does not necessarily make a game simpler, it just moves the complexity somewhere else. The less a player has to fight against the game to do what they want, the more they can ease their mind into fighting the opponent. And I'm not the kind of person who gets upset when new players are actually able to fight back. Of course, there is a case to be made about traditional inputs and how much power and balance they should have, and that players who put in the time and sweat to learn a difficult technique are entitled to their power. But not every game needs to adhere to the same rules, and forcing new players to make that climb just because you had to is a primary reason why you have no one to play with online after 2 months. The fact that there aren't many high-profile fighting games that even dare to use one-button specials as a default control method is honestly shocking, and this abject refusal to even try a simpler control scheme is part of the reason why fighting games struggle so much with onboarding. Do I have a solution to this conundrum? Of course I don't. Fighting games haven't figured it out for 30 years. But that's where Project L is going to be interesting, because Riot has already mastered the art of onboarding in games that are equally as complex as fighting games. It may seem like a distant memory, but it wasn't that long ago that League of Legends was the most popular game on the planet, and is still widely played by millions of people to this day. And if you've never played League of Legends or any game in the MOBA genre, The basic concepts of these games are mind-numbingly abstract. Okay, so the goal is to blow up the enemy's nexus, but you can't blow it up until you destroy their tower, so you need to go into a lane and fight the enemy tower, but you can't just go up to the tower or it'll shoot you and you'll die. So you gotta wait for your minions to march down the lane and take shots for you so you can hit their tower, but the enemy also has minions and they're gonna try and fight to get to your tower. So you kill the minions so you can push forward and hit the tower, but you don't want to push too far forward or some asshole will jump out of the jungle and kill you. So you gotta wait until the minions are almost dead and then last hit them to get gold, but the enemy will also try to last hit minions too, so you need to fight them so they can't get gold. But if you fight the enemy, then the minions will start attacking you and you'll take damage, so you have to last hit minions but don't get aggressive or you'll take damage. You need to keep the enemy away from minions so they don't get gold, but you can't push too far forward because you'll die. And you can't let the enemy push too far forward because they'll hit your tower and then you lose the lane. And then once one of those towers is destroyed, the entire game changes. Somehow people are able to get past this hurdle and continue to play the game and eventually experience the best that the game has to offer. The same is true for Legends of Runeterra, which manages to get exponentially more complex with each new expansion. And if Riot's UX designers are somehow able to get players hooked into games with basic concepts this alien and bizarre, then I feel like they have a good shot at introducing new players to fighting games in a way that's informative, engaging, and fun. I'm just saying, if people can make the effort to learn laning, then it's not that big of a stretch to learn how neutral works. That's all for today's mini. Be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments what you think about Project L. Don't forget to subscribe and last hit the notification bell for more content from Sugar Punch. Our channel is supported on Patreon and you don't need wards in the jungle to catch us early. Patrons get early access to all our future videos, so be sure to check it out if you want to support the channel. I'm A.B.I., and top is missing, no wards on Baron, mid stop pushing or...
An ally has been slain.
Okay, /surrender.